All right, what's up, Saints fans? Who dat nation? I got a question for you, just coming right out of the top. Then I'll talk to you about what this channel is if you're new to watching Sports Talk Extra here. And I got a player that has found his groove. And if he can be what he was supposed to be when drafted, you have found yourself an ideal fit for this team that can be just a huge blessing to this team for 1 year. All right. And he looks so far in practice to be exactly what you hoped you were getting when you signed him. But the question I have for the Saints fans before we get into anything on this is, how do you feel? Two of them, two questions. How do you feel about your team's chances this year? Are you the best team in the South? All right. How do you feel about your team's chances to win that ever, quite frankly, weak division, at least these years, all right, these last few years? And number two, how do you feel about the way your team handles the salary cap? Every year, I'm absolutely blown away about how you're like over $100 million over the salary cap, and you find ways to just push money down the road and make it okay for everybody. Somehow, you found a way, and that's exactly what you did with this contract. But news coming out of camp today is that Chase Young is finding his absolute groove on the defensive line. I mean, finding his groove. All right. Chase Young, if you don't know, I believe was the second overall pick. All right. Second overall pick in the NFL draft. And he is a guy who can absolutely ball out. He was drafted by the Washington Commanders, and he was so good in college. Like, he was the next Bosa. In fact, he played after the Bosas, right? Like, he was the one who came up after them, and many people thought Chase Young might even be better. And the only reason he didn't go number one overall is because I'm pretty sure that's the year Joe Burrow was drafted number one overall. And he has been an absolute disappointment in the NFL this year. It can be argued that last year was definitely his best year. He was credited with 10 sacks if you go by PFF. He had a pass rush grade of 75.8 and an overall grade of 74.4, which makes him an above average, very much so, above average defensive lineman. In fact, it's a starting caliber. It's an average starting caliber defensive end. Now, he's an average starting caliber defensive end, but he has the ability to be so much better than that. All right, so the attention grabbing began Monday. First 3 days of full pads training camp at Cal Irvine. One of his reps in teams drill saw him power rush the offensive tackle straight into the quarterback's lap. So you love seeing the power rush. A snap that was a bit more forceful than Coach Dennis Allen wanted, but nevertheless, really impressive. Then the next day, Young was a headache for rookie left tackle Tulisi Fuiaga, who I like, by the way. In one-on-one drills, he won a couple of reps. Then in team drills, he snuffed out a run that would have been a tackle for a loss. And then he won another snap that would have resulted in a sack. So, wins a couple reps, gets a sack, gets a tackle for a loss. Like, that works. Honest to goodness, as the pads have come on the defensive side of the ball, he may be the best player in camp so far. That is exactly what you're hoping for. All right. Then Wednesday, the next day, he was again imposing as well. He was wreaking havoc, and he is way ahead of his timetable for recovery from his offseason neck surgery. He's already cleared for practice, and he was on the 22nd. All right. Coach Dennis Allen very simply said, all right, I'll let you see some of these quotes that he's been saying. All right. He said he's certainly ahead of where we thought he was going to be at this point in time. So I think the ramp up for him is just every day. You're going to see a little bit more, Allen said. Now, what's a little bit more? Well, it may be a couple more reps each period until finally we're ready to fully incorporate him into the whole deal. So he's getting all this done while on limited time? Seriously? Like, that's really, really impressive. All right? He said, I haven't seen any limitations out of him at all. Other than it's just really kind of been a while since he's been fully playing football. Just trying to get his football legs up and under him a little bit. I like the progress. All right. And he said he's exceeded his expectations so far, and he has gone about his business. Look, here's the deal. He is a perfect example of getting a good deal on a player on a prove-it deal. It is a 1 year, $13 million contract. But as the Saints will do, the cap hit this year is only $3.4 million. Okay, you can see it right there. All right, $3.4 million. There's a void year next year where you have to pay $9 million even though he's not there. And then you're paying almost $2.3 million each of the next 3 years. So you're paying out this entire contract almost entirely on the back's 3 years or 4 years after it's there. And those void years are how you find ways to keep skirting past the salary cap, but it's also how you find ways to keep being in trouble or salary cap purgatory every year. So when each year you go out and you're like, hey, how can we go get a good free agent? Things like that. You just got a 25-year-old former second-round pick for $13 million. You found a way to get him even though you had no salary cap room. That is impressive. When you look at your defense as a whole, all right, you need him to be good. All right, you need him to be that elite edge rusher. We all know there's a player missing on this lineup that you all miss. I get that. All right, but there are still good pieces. Your corners are solid. Your safeties are more than solid. All right, anytime you have Demario Davis, you're in a good position. Is that guy ever going to get too old to play football? Is my question. Is that dude ever going to be too old to play football? He just keeps dominating. All right, it is absolutely mind-boggling to me. All right, it is absolutely mind-boggling to me. When you look at your defensive line, all right, you look at the different players that you have, all right, Chase Young has to be good. You have Carl Granderson, that's fantastic. Cam Jordan, all right, all good things. All right, all good things. This is a defensive line that has the potential to be elite. And if you can do that, the rest of things can take care of themselves. All right, now when we go over to the offensive side of the ball, I just want to talk about this for a second. I'm in multiple different fantasy football leagues because I'm a nerd. All right, I love fantasy football and real football, and the fantasy football is where real football and make believe collide, and that makes me happy. So I have Olave in multiple leagues. I'm a big believer in Olave. So answer this question for me: is he going to have just a ridiculous year this year? Is he capable, even with Carr throwing him the football? Is he capable of moving ahead and having one of those magical 13, 14, 1,500-yard seasons? Because when I watch him play, I see something very special out of that guy. And it's hard for me to say that. You see this guy, Jim Harbaugh, back here. I'm a big Michigan fan. Olave's an Ohio State guy. I just love the way he plays football. Do you feel the same way? Do you feel like he's kind of aloof at times is the other question I have. It seems like there's times where he's not engaged. I understand wide receivers can be divas and all that kind of stuff. But where are we at? All right, where are we at? Really excited to see what Chase Young could do for this team. It was okay in San Francisco, okay. But I just think it'd be cool if he went to the Saints and then balled out there. All right, thanks for watching. Hit that subscribe button if you love Saints content. We'll be bringing it to you, at least a video every week or so, sometimes more. And if you just love NFL content, this is the place to go. All right, thanks for watching. See ya.